Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. How are you? I hope you're enjoying the best of health. I welcome you in my class, that is English for grade 3. We are learning unit 12. Its title is Eidul Adha. My dear fellow teachers, this lesson plan, PowerPoint presentation and worksheet links are given. You may click it, download it, follow it as it is or modify it for your convenience. I'm going to deliver my lecture according to this lesson plan. Yes, my dear children, today we are going to learn about pictograph and pie chart. Before this, we have learned about time. I have taught you to tell time, and we learned we can write time in different ways. This is digital, this is in words. It means we can present information, same information in different ways, right? So likewise, we are going to learn how to present information in pie chart and in pictograph. This is our today's topic, and let's see. Our SLO is read information. So you will read information in a pictograph and a pie chart. This is our today's SLO. Let's start with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah mentions in Quran, Surah Saba, verse 13. They made for him what he willed of elevated chambers, statues, balls like reservoirs, and stationary kettles. We said, work of family of David in gratitude, and few of my servants are grateful. Yes, my dear children, what this verse is telling us. Beta, before telling you about this verse, let me tell you this verse is about Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam, who was son of Prophet Dawood alayhi salam. And you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed Prophet Sulaiman with a lot of powers, and one of them was he can command jinns. Okay? And this verse is telling us Allah made for him what he willed of, and what those jinn were doing, they were making chambers, statues, balls like reservoirs, and stationary kettles. So you see, they were making different things. Okay, all of these things were made of stone, and they were given different names. Okay, so this is how different things are given different names because of their look, because of their how they are presented. Okay, so this is how we present these things in different ways, and we name them differently. This is we are going to learn for graphs today. Okay, because you are learning graph for the first time. So tell me, what is a pictograph? Do you know about a pictograph? Do you know anything? And what is a pie chart? If you know anything about this pictograph and pie chart, pause the video, tell whatever you know to your teacher, and then come back. Yes, my dear students. Okay, let's see what a pictograph is. Okay, a pictograph is also known as pictograph. Okay, this is name for pictograph. Pictograph or pictograph. What it is a graph used to display information that uses images, means that uses pictures or symbols to represent data. And what is data? Any information. Beta, what is data? Basically, when we collect different type of information, that is called data. Okay, so we can write it and we can show it on graph. How do we do that? Let's see. Now look at this. This is a pictograph or pictograph. Now look at these fruits. You can look at the picture and you can count them, but this is how data is. But when I want to represent this information in a graph form, how do we do that? This is peach. So the first picture over here is peach. Let's count peach. How many peaches are there? 1 and 2, right? So we can write there are 2 peaches. Okay, this is how we write it in number. But when we show it on graph, how do we do that? For first picture, we'll fill the first box, and for second picture, we'll fill the second box. So this is now the same information. 2 peaches we can write in number, and this 2 is represented in graph like this. Okay. The second thing over here, second fruit is strawberry. How many strawberries are there? 1, 2, 3. So we will write it in 3 as number. How many strawberries? 3. How many boxes we'll fill over here? 3. 1, 2, 3. So this is the same information. This is in pictograph and this is in numbers, right? The third thing over here, third fruit is orange. How many oranges are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many oranges are there? 6. This is how we write in number. How we'll present this data in this graph? We'll fill how many boxes? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this information and this information is same, only the way we are presenting is different. And the last fruit for this data is pear. How many pears are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 pears. How we'll show it in this graph? 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Now, my dear children, this data for fruits has been presented in this pictograph. The way we have presented it over here, this is called picture graph. Do you understand? Good. Now, the second thing which we are going to learn today is pie chart. First, let's do it from your book. All of you open your book on page number 102. So how we present it, that's written here. Read pictograph, names and number of ice creams. Now beta, this data already it is in table form. This is the name of a person and this is the number of ice creams which is presented in picture. Amina, Ali, Sana and Fahad. How many ice creams they have eaten, that has been shown over here, but before finding it, let's find its keywords. What it is saying, each cone, each picture is equal to 3 ice cream cones. Do you understand? This is how, basically these graphs are a technique to represent a bigger data in a short way, quick way, right? So 1 cone is equal to 3 ice cream cones. It means Amina, she has eaten not 2. How many? Multiply by 3. So how many cones she ate? 6. Ali ate 3. 1 is equal to 3. So 3 is showing how many cones? 9. Are you getting it? This is how. Now instead of making 9 cones, 3, when we say 1 cone is equal to 3, it means 3 cones are equal to 9. This is how this concept has been explained in your book. But one thing which we are discussing, this thing and these numbers, all this data is same. All right? Okay. So the second way is to represent the information is pie chart. What is a pie? It is a circular representation, and out of this complete circle, how much one thing is covering, that is called pie chart. How do we represent it? For example, the way I taught you about peaches, this is the same information of fruits which we talked about. When we represent it in a pie chart, this is how. Now by looking, how do we read it? If I ask you, by looking at this pie chart, tell me what is the maximum fruit which is covering pie? So pie chart. So what will you tell? The fruit which is covering the biggest area. And what is that? That's orange. You see, this is how we read pie chart. Keep looking at the pie. The size of pie will tell you the contribution, the participation, the number of that particular thing out of whole. Right? So orange is covering the maximum of this circle. That's why orange is the highest number. What comes next? Look at this pie chart carefully. What comes next? That's pear. Good. What comes after pear? That's a strawberry. And what is the least number? That's peach. This is how we read. When we read a chart, we can compare the information. So the highest number, whatever the form of chart is, the highest number will cover the maximum portion, the lowest number will cover the minimum portion. The way it's here, peach is covering the minimum portion and orange is covering the maximum portion. Do you understand? This is how we read it. How we make it, we learn in next grades, inshallah. But for now, we learn how to read by looking at this picture, by looking at this pie chart or pictograph. How do we read it, right? So are you clear with the concept? All right, let's see what does your book say about pie chart. Pie chart, sometimes called our circle graph, is used to compare data. Slices of different size are marked on our circle, that is the pie, based on what part of the whole they represent. This is how we read it. Now look at this. This chart is giving us information about different games. Now by looking at this picture, can you tell me what is the, for example, this is the data for different sports which children like. So which game children like the most? How do we find it? By looking at the game which is covering the maximum portion of this circle. And what is that? That's cricket. Okay, this is how we read the pie chart. All right, so let's practice it through an activity. What we are going to do? Let's read. Teacher will divide class in groups and teacher will show pictographs and pie charts and student will read. Teacher, I brought one example for you. You can take different type of graphs and after making groups of children, give them graph and make them to read it. What is the title of this graph and how do we read this graph? Let them read it and you can ask different questions about that chart, either they are done with it or not. Okay, so pause the video, enjoy the activity and then come back. Yes, my dear children, are you done with it? Good job. Was it interesting? That's wonderful. All right, so it's time for your homework. You will write parts of a picture graph like what is the title and keys. That the image is given on page number 102. You will look at that and you will write the parts of a graph. Here is a worksheet, my dear fellow teachers. This worksheet, lesson plan, PowerPoint presentation links are given. You may click it, download it and kindly provide a printed worksheet to students for practice. So my dear children, what we have learned today, we learned to read information in a picture graph and a pie chart. Are we done with it? Yes, so wherever you find a graph, try to read it. So that's it for today. Tomorrow I'll come again with a very interesting lesson. Till that time, keep learning, keep practicing, take very good care of yourself. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.